Well, as is usual with games here, I am playing Ragnarok. I kind of pull away a little bit and don't go into as much detail as we go. So I ran through a complete turn there. We see the Aesir positioning in a way that I like, with the infantry along the river where they get a defensive advantage, and the Valkyrie right across the river where they can attack too. It gives more attack bonuses. Here's the problem with it. The Valkyrie are vulnerable. I'd like to get them more over on this side of the river, but getting the depth seemed important, trying to cut down the number of giant Jotun units that were out there. Up here, we had Tyr bring a Berserker into play. What we're seeing is Tyr and Freyr fighting Hrym and Fenrir, with Thor throwing hammers in, and well, that almost all went. I should use my tweezers, but I can't use them left-handed. Hrym took the majority of the losses there, with units as well as all the heroes hitting him at the same time. We're seeing some casualties though, some of the Frost Giants. We had a Valkyrie get killed over here. That's Heimdall. Just no special abilities yet, just the Giants getting massacred as they try to move forward. No real huge, the defensive advantage that pertains going across the river goes both ways. So it's not like it's this terrible advantage for the Aesir to be behind the river. Their attacks back are just as bad. One thing to note, and I think I've mentioned this a little earlier, the interplay with some of the retreating, because of the Valkyrie having their own kind of special type of unit where they can enter the hex of other units to attack them, but they can't attack adjacent. The way that all works out gives a different type of retreating, different type of zones, as it were, just a different flavor than would normally exist in one of these games. I don't know if there had been an air game. I vaguely remember there being something that had helicopter troops working in a similar manner as this. I don't remember what the game was. It may have been, I don't know, something SPI had, but this reminds me very much of that. This was the earlier game for me. If I ever run across that, I'll definitely remember this one. But definitely a different kind of flavor to how you have to set up your pieces and how you have to cope with them. The other fact is, because you don't get hurt attacking, you want to just charge in and make your attacks and, gain what ground you can, etc. Because there's not really too much damage to doing so. Keep going. And casualties are beginning to pile up here. A couple things to note. One, well, first of all, Fenrir is dead. Thor and the rest of the Aesir ganged up on him, and Thor's hammer did 8 points of damage to him, along with a grievous wounded as the final blow. And this is because Fenrir tried a lunge, so he was easier to hit. That's why everyone went after him instead of the easier to kill him. Some of the Valkyrie caused some damage. Now, it's important to note the forests. They prevent the Valkyrie from attacking ground units, and vice versa. It's as though both are not even there, which is a really, really interesting little terrain feature to the whole thing. They're complete shielding from them, which is just kind of an interesting little piece. Anyway, it doesn't look good for the Giants. It almost never does. I don't think I've ever seen them win this game. I think it's unbalanced in favor of the Aesir, but it's always kind of interesting to play out anyway. And another turn goes by. Giants starting to lose a significant amount of their forces. Just, it's trading off, etc. There's almost always one Aesir who doesn't make it on the map for a long time. In this case, there's two. I've seen ones where Thor or Odin, and in this case Odin's one of them, is just off the map for a long time. That can severely affect the overall Aesir performance, but like I said, I don't think I've ever seen the Jotun win, so I don't know how big a deal it is. Alright, well, we're seeing the Aesir beginning to turn the flank over here, and that's really a sign that things are going poorly for the Giants. whatever gains they had been making, they're really getting shifted aside and attacked at the Acer's advantage, basically. Holding the river line isn't a terrible defensive advantage, but it's a slight one in the sense that you can choose to cross it when you wish to and get those additional advantages to throw your extra weight in. There's still a lot of giants coming, but numerically they're well outclassed. And down here the heroes are just all fighting one big fight. And again, it's really to the Acer's advantage right now, I think. I'm not quite sure how to make things work well with the giants. I know when I've played them against someone else playing the Acer, I can do fairly well, but I just think that, usually I play this with people who aren't really used to playing serious war games, so they're not as familiar with, some of the implications of the defensive lines and stuff. Looking more and more grim for the giants. Really getting outflanked over here and trying to move around this way. There's certainly a weaker Acer force here. If they do break through, the walls could still prevent them from winning the game, as it were. They've got to get a regular unit through. Meanwhile, with the heroes, we see Freyr beginning to, he almost went under, and Loki and others beginning to drop lower and lower. But really, this is a battle between the units. The heroes can be a huge effect. For example, the serpent coming in, it can trash units as it's moving, but for the most part, the heroes just fight each other and try to tie each other down to the point where the units are able to do their stuff. In particular, as long as the heroes can't start destroying the Acer units, as long as the Jotun heroes can't destroy the Acer units, it's a tougher slog through for the giants. And likewise, if the Acer end up winning the heroic fight, then their heroes are going to be able to run around fairly quickly and stomp Jotun units that might be breaking through. So it's an important fight between the heroes, but it's sort of outside the realm right now. Right now the battle is really the units, and the heroes are fighting their own little segment, which doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. And I left the dead out this turn over here just to show you. Freyr died, but otherwise that's kind of what we're seeing. A few pieces on each side being destroyed. The attrition's definitely taking its toll. The giants are starting to look like they might be able to slip through or something, but the Acer pushed back and knocked them into the woods. Unwilling to cross the bridge, they killed a unit there. What else do we have? Well, Thor is starting to attack the serpent from a distance because he likes killing serpents particularly. But other than that, really, to me it looks like, it's sort of this dice fest. And this is one of the things that's kind of unpleasant about it, that if you could watch, you'd see more of it. I think you saw a little bit at the beginning, but it's just, you're rolling 3 dice, and then if you hit, you roll 2 dice, and it's unit per unit per unit. Everything's attacking. The chances of hitting are low, so there's a lot of dice rolling without a lot of effect. And it's kind of a painful annoyance for that. There's some interesting factors for the game, but that's the big negative, and I'll try to hit on that, I think, in my review. Alright, one thing I did forget, Vidar is grievously wounded. That means every turn he's going to take additional losses, and I forgot to mark him this turn. He's down. That was from the serpent, not his poison bite. He just got a natural, one of them 4G hits. So Vidar is dead. It's just a question of how long it's going to take for people to figure out that he's dead while he's, running around kicking people. Alright. And the giants really paid this turn. Lots and lots of giants dead. We're seeing they're being totally swamped by the Acer forces. On the other hand, the Acer gods are falling down pretty fast, with Vidar, with Tyr knocked unconscious. Odin's not on the board yet, so all we have is Thor, who's kind of standing outside the combat, tossing little hammers at the serpent and saying, "Ooh." But as long as there aren't any giants left, and this is always the problem. It's possible to maybe wipe out the Acer heroes, but the ground units are so tough. I'm trying to think, well, would it make sense to maybe form up back here and not charge in right away for whatever tiny advantage there is on the stream? But the real advantage is the formation. If the Giants are in a wedge type thing, the Acer get a lot more attacks on them. And we're seeing that regularly anyway with, a number of units lined up against the river line. But those are unlikely to hit. But then with the Valkyrie coming in and attacking as well, they're just getting more dice on the Giants, and therefore more firing opportunities, more hits, and more damage. It's also, though, the retreats cause casualties as well. So if forces are too packed together, and again, the wedge is a problem there. You want the line. And, I don't feel like the Giants were terribly in that formation, but here they lost a few units to trying to buckle the Acer inward and just getting themselves into some bad positions. All right, well, we'll keep going. Well, this was actually a good turn for the Giants. They managed to kill a lot of Acer units, but the numbers are just telling against them, and they're taking losses that are equivalent. The only thing that they really have to hope for is that their heroes are able to turn the day one way or another. If they kill Thor, and Vidar and Tyr are basically gone. We see them, Tyr manage to recover consciousness and take a swing in, but next round he's out. Vidar's probably worth ignoring. So now the question becomes, well, what do you want to do with the other heroes? Do they want to kind of spread out and attack some of these units and try to wipe them out? Because they can't charge Thor, not after a disengage. They can't become engaged again. But they can rampage all over the units. Interesting choices here. Worst comes to worst, they could simply attack in the hex that they're in after the units are dead, I think. After the heroes are dead. We'll see. Well, the Giants pushed forward even further early in the turn, but they've gotten knocked back by the Acer. We're down to Vidar, who's unconscious with a grievous injury. The Serpent's dead. Thor alone is looking at Loki, Surt, Garm, and Hrym facing him. But at this moment, that's not really... basically, the Jotuns have to make a move to hit Thor. They don't want to leave him alone because he's more powerful from a hex away throwing his hammers. Alright, well, let's see what the Giants can pull off here. Well, the non-heroic Giants are almost completely eliminated. We have a few here in the woods and under these Valkyrie here, but these guys have been encircled and destroyed. Over here, we have Loki. Vidar's dead. Not kicking Vidar, but he killed a Valkyrie unit. Everybody else is ganging up on good old Thor. The reason being, if they can kill Thor, they can run and try to break down a gate and get out of here. Once there are no heroes, they can win. But as long as the Acer have any heroes on the map, the Jotun can't win by charging forward with a hero. Of course, the regular Acer units will try to do what they can to prevent that. I'm going to load this up because although it looks like it's done, or getting close to done, it still could take quite some time. Well, here we are at Ragnarok, and the Giants just keep getting smaller and smaller as a force. Loki came over to try to help break through here and maybe get a regular giant unit through. Loki's not doing too well himself. He might be able to do well by resting for a turn, but he only gets 1 hit point back per turn he rests, whereas he can probably wipe out a unit per turn. Here he did so, but then a Valkyrie came and attacked him. Over here, Thor is holding his own pretty well. He's a pretty tough dude, even though he's not at a distance where he can be tougher. And I guess we'll keep going. Odin's still, a little hungover. There was a big party the last night, and he doesn't really want to come to Ragnarok right now. And now, after another turn, the Giants are almost wiped out. Well, they've been almost wiped out for a while, but Loki bit it. And got a bunch of fire giants stuck in the woods here, unable to push through. And the heroes are really not able to do much to Thor. He's doing more damage to them. Odin's still not on the scene. The only real thing that happened this turn is Thor got grievously injured. His girdle wasn't cut off of him, so I guess the jewels are still intact, but they're not going to do him any good. He's dying in this battle. Moved everything into place to attack as a kid, but fighting in the woods like this, that minus is just fairly significant. It's just a -1, but you know, the attack is only an 8 to begin with in most of these cases. Drops down to a 7 on 3 dice. That's a pretty low number and hard to get. So we haven't seen any hits really. Alright, well, we'll just keep going and Odin will try to nurse his hangover. Another giant went down, and Hrym is now unconscious. Yet another turn. Not much has changed here. Hrym will be able to recover this turn. Giants got to finish a unit off. This is about the best they can do. They're just hoping to tie these guys down. Meanwhile, poor Thor is about ready to go. Not much is moving anywhere. The to-hit rolls are so bad that it's really tough. Someday Odin may even show up. But things kind of busted open a little bit here. Thor died finally. He took Hrym, or he didn't take Hrym down, but one of the warriors did. See a number of Acer units going under at the same time, but we're down to 1 fire giant left. So Garm and Surt break free, and they each spend an endurance point to blow fire. Garm actually breathing it, Surt just tossing it, and Garm actually managed to break through the gate. That means if things don't change very fast, he's going to be off the map and win the game. Might be a first from what I remember. Well, that's the game. Odin still didn't show up. If he had, it would have been over. He could have tied Garm down and finished him off pretty easily. So what happened was nobody could reach Garm. I could get 1 hex away, but that's not good enough. And now Garm can just go da 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 and win the game. Interesting, yeah. All right. I should probably tag this to the last one. This may be, and a number of times on video this has been the case, the first time I've seen a victory on a side that I thought couldn't win a game. And that's kind of always an interesting situation. But, you know, overall, this just never is all that exciting a game, even though it came down to a situation like this, and this is probably about as exciting as it can get. This is about where the game winds up. You know, it's this huge die rolling fest without any real interest. There's not a lot of maneuvering ability. There's some rules that, you know, seem like they imply more. For example, the disengagement table. Do you want to try to break free and run around? Maybe it's worth it with the Giants, maybe. I've generally found that if you break free and run around, you give your opponent, the Acer, for example, the chance to attack you again, and you never get to shoot back because you keep running away if you get away. If you don't get away, you get to shoot back. But I find that disturbing, but I think the Acer have the overwhelming numerical advantage to the extent that they will win in a trade-off of fighting. So the game could never be won by the Giants doing the kind of tactics that I used. Maybe I play a little differently when I'm playing the Giants against an Acer player, that I'm not playing both sides at once. It's quite possible. I know that I think more when I'm playing a side on my own rather than playing a solitaire scenario like this. I'm a lot more of a blood and glory type of player, solitaire, I think. Alright, well, I'll link this to the other video and then do a review on its own.